Tom Zutot, if you're here, that means that you got in. It's the day after New Year's, and we're still celebrating Christmas with my two brothers. I mean, we were like the three amigos when we grew up on the south suburbs of Chicago. But they're here in Chattanooga, you know, and it's really great. They come here every Christmas, and my brother Brad's got in-laws down in Cedartown near Rome, Georgia, and we get together with my dad and everybody, and we share stories. And Brad told me something really interesting last night at our family dinner, and my dad's 92nd. And even though I live in Chattanooga, you know, there's so many cool things in Chattanooga, and I really love living here. And I remember, Brad, you were telling me once when you first came here and you looked around, you thought it was a pretty cool city. You were surprised, I think. But I want you to tell this story about the ghosts of the Reed House. And you know, it's kind of funny because he mentioned Al Capone last night, and I have an Al Capone story too. But tell him about the Reed House and Al Capone. I love that story.
All right, so hi everybody. We're here in Chattanooga. My brother John and I have flown in from Los Angeles to be here and celebrate our holidays. One of the things about having a brother in rock and roll is that holidays like Christmas and New Year's are when bands perform. They have New Year's shows and Christmas shows. So our holidays were always sort of pushed to New Year's. So that's the reason we're here now, and it's New Year's. And we're going to celebrate our family Christmas on New Year's, because rock and roll or music takes Christmas and New Year's for themselves. But the great part is we got to travel to all kinds of different cities and experience Christmas all over the world, which was a great ride. Today we're in Chattanooga at the Reed House, and it's an amazing hotel. If you like old historic hotels that are really finely tuned and modernized, this is a place to come see. The history my brother Tom is talking about is that along the way, this hotel has housed some very famous people, from presidents to gangsters. And Al Capone, when he was convicted of tax evasion, was sentenced to a federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia, and then Florida. But they had to get him from Chicago here. And one of the markers was a hotel had to be secure. And the Reed House happened to have bars on its lower floor windows, and it made it a jail cell. They could put a guard in front, and Al Capone couldn't get out of the room because the bars on the windows had been put there during the railroad days to prevent guests who stayed a week or two without paying from leaping out of their window and hitting the train yard and getting on a train and leaving without paying their bill. So Al Capone stayed here, and he was able to stay safely and not run from his guards. In the same room they kept him in, and they think it was maybe a cruel joke by the innkeeper who checked them in. About 5 years prior to his stay, there had been a murder in that same hotel room of a very jealous husband who had left his wife. The family was actually from Chicago as well. They had come down to do business in Chattanooga. He got called back to headquarters. It was too expensive to bring his wife with him, and they had intended on staying here a little time, so he left his wife here. She got friendly with people in the pool hall, which was here at this hotel, and he came home to find her back in the hotel with another man, and obviously had a problem with it, and I guess killed her in that same room that Al Capone stayed in. So that's the beautiful holiday story that we're telling you here on Rock and Roll Podcast World.
So, you know, my Al Capone story is a really funny one because I did some work for a guy named Johnny Galgano when I was in high school and just out of high school. And I didn't know it at the time, but he was Al Capone's grandson. And so I did all this work for him, and, you know, and inventories and stuff like that, of records, actually, vinyl. And
were those sloppy inventories for Mr. Galgano?
No, they were accurate, man. Are you kidding me? Okay. They had to be accurate, Jay-Z. They had to be accurate.
Were they actually records you were inventorying, or was there something else? I mean, did you find money in the record sleeves?
No, I did find like this video tape machine that was called a Sony Betamax, and I just asked Johnny. I said, "Well, what is that?" He goes, "Oh, well, you can use that to watch movies that are still in the theaters at home." And so, I mean, today, you know, imagine like like back in the late 70s, how crazy it was to think it was special to be able to watch a first run movie in the comfort of your own home. But that was pretty nuts. So just like when Granny played "I Want to Hold Your Hand" by the Beatles, you couldn't play it over and over again as you can today. But anyway, I just mentioned to him, and I remember that Bo Derek movie 10 had come out, and I seen some of those, and I mentioned those, and a couple of months later for Christmas, Johnny gave me one of those Betamax players in the movie 10 and some other things. Do you remember when I brought that thing home? And remember how your friends and
the whole neighborhood would come watch movies at
yeah,
our house.
like we were doing first run movies in our family room, and nobody could believe it. They didn't have to go to the theater to see them.
Another benefit of the music industry, it was true.
There are a lot of benefits.
Johnny, our buddies would come and we'd watch movies over and over again.
Yes, we would.
Yeah, so it's just funny, and and that's why when Brad told me this Al Capone story, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. It's just intersecting everywhere. And then when I went to sign my first band, Motley Crue, on Sunset Strip at the Whiskey, the show was sold out, and I had to beg my way in. And a guy named Mario, right, he was the owner, and he came out, and he asked me, why he should let me in, right? I was trying to get in. I couldn't get in, and that was in the days when I had to ask Mario, can you get me in? Anyway, so Mario, he starts talking to me. He goes, let me see your business card, kid. And I show it to him. He goes, it says marketing. It doesn't say A&R. He goes, why would you need to see a band? And I said, Mario, one day I'm going to make your club famous again, because I'm going to find bands in here that are going to make your club famous. And it does have a plaque now with Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue as part of its induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I kept my word to Mario, but Mario goes, you got a lot of gumption, kid. And I go, I guess I do. Are you going to let me in? He goes, who do you know? Where are you from? I go, Chicago. He goes, I'm from Chicago. Who do you know in Chicago? And I go, Johnny Galgano. He goes, you know Al Capone's grandson? Are you kidding me? Now, I didn't even know that's who it was until just, then at that moment. I go, yeah, call him if you want. I said, I know he's in Lake Geneva somewhere. And Mario goes, all right, kid, come on in. So it's just kind of funny,
So wait, Al Capone got you into the whiskey, basically?
Ultimately, yeah, knowing his grandson got me in.
And here we are at this hotel.
At this hotel
That's a
where
good full
he
circle
spent,
moment,
full circle. He spent one of his last almost free moments before he was put in prison here in this hotel in a barred room.
His last bed, not in prison, was in this hotel. It was the last place he stayed as a somewhat free human. Not really, because he was under escort, but...
Yeah. And
well, thank you all the Capone family that's out there for helping my brother become a rock legend. That's great.
Well, and then years later, backstage at Kiss, I meet a guy named Donald Kamek, and he's like, you know Johnny Galgano? And I go, yeah, I want to see his record store. And he goes, well, let me call him. He calls him on the phone, and he's like, oh, Tommy, I'm so sorry. He goes, his record store burned down last week. Business was slow. Anyway, so, I mean, and while we're talking about Motley Crue, one of my favorite stories, and no one can tell it better than my brother Johnny. So, Brad and I, Mick Mars is living with us for a while, and, the Motley Crue are finally playing this. Of course, I did sign him after that whiskey show that Al Capone got us into. But anyway, so they're playing a showcase gig for the label. Brad and I are backstage, and we're doing all this stuff. And our baby brother Johnny, or we call him Jay-Z, he came out to visit us. He was still in high school, and I go backstage right after the show, and then I come out and get everybody. And meanwhile, while Brad and I are backstage hanging with the band before they're ready to meet people, Johnny's out there with everyone from the label, and I'm going to let Johnny tell this because he tells it better than anyone. It's amazing.
Okay, so here's the story. It was at the Reseda Country Club. This was a club where the tables were picnic tables, so they were long family-style picnic tables. And yeah, Tom and Brad had already gone backstage. I was just this kid sitting at the table. I don't know if they thought I worked for the label. I don't know if they thought I was a fan. They definitely didn't know who I was, because as soon as they exited, the head of A&R, I believe his name was Kenny. Actually, I know his name was Kenny because I would never forget his name. Tom later told me, oh, that was the head of A&R, Johnny. I'm like, oh, okay. So Kenny gets up and he goes, oh man, these guys suck. Just a Kiss ripoff copycat. They're not going to go anywhere. Why is the label wasting their time on this? And then all of the coworkers are all nodding their heads, yeah. And I'm going, wow, like, I'm thinking as a 16-year-old kid, like, this ain't right. Like, why would you put this band on your label if you don't believe in them? So we all go backstage, and I kid you not, this guy Kenny is the first guy through the door in front of all of us. He goes up to the band, he puts his hand out, he goes, gentlemen, so nice to meet you. You guys are going to be great for us. We're so excited to have you on the label. Welcome aboard. And I'm thinking to myself, what? I didn't get it. Being from the Midwest, where your word is everything. I totally didn't understand it. So I was disturbed the rest of the evening, and didn't want to say anything about why we were backstage, because it was a great moment, because it was the band's coming out party, I guess you would say. And we're all in the car on the way home, and I said, hey bro, like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm really pissed off. He's like, what? Was the band not any good? I'm like, no, the band were great. He's like, well, what's bothering you, Johnny? And I said, well, that guy Kenny, and I told the story. That guy Kenny was like bagging on the band, and then like he goes in and it's like the best band. I said, I don't understand. And he's like, welcome to LA, bro. Get used to it. He goes, he said, I really appreciate you looking out for me, but, let's just wait and see, because I know that it's going to be okay. And he pats me on the leg and goes, we got him. And that's the story.
And no, there's actually an epilogue. The epilogue is that, I knew that they probably, and Johnny just verified it by telling me, but, I took a lot of crap for signing that band, and a lot of people at the label thought it was a third-rate Kiss and all the rest of it, just like they said in front of my brother, not knowing he was my brother. But I remember looking at him and saying, Johnny, here's the thing. I said, when that band sells millions of records, they'll be the ones that discovered the band, not me. That's how the record business works. And I'd only been out there for like a year, and I already figured that out. Like, handshakes died in Hollywood before they died in the rest of the country. But that was kind of shocking, that they would, run that band down. And I heard they were running me down too, Johnny. Weren't they saying that they didn't know why this kid could sign a band and all that?
There was some of that too, but it was more, Kiss copycat, this band's going nowhere, yada, yada, yada. This guy was the big man on campus for sure, but so I was very happy to hear not shortly after that he was fired.
Yeah, disbelieve in Motley Crue and you will be fired. You're fired. So I did promise a confession, and I'm going to confess something to my brother Brad. I actually stole a record from him. I had run out of money.
You stole one record from me?
Well, there might have been a couple of others, but I remember, like, I would run out of money, and I would beg mom and dad for money, and they said, you got to work for it. And so I was delivering newspapers. That story's been told, but when the newspapers, even after 3 paper routes, didn't give me enough money to buy a record, I'd have to say, and Brad was delivering newspaper, I say, Brad, you have to go buy this record, man. We need to hear it right away. I'd buy like 3 records, and then he'd buy 1, and then we'd have 4 records. And I know when I left Chicagoland, I took those records with me, and they're in my collection. The only one I really remember is Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Do you remember any of the others that vanished?
Oh, I remember the first one you convinced me to get with my money.
What was that?
Carly Simon, No Secrets.
Oh, I forgot about that.
You
I still
needed
have
that
it.
record.
Yeah.
You needed that record, and you said, "Look how beautiful she is. We should have this record." And I was like, "Yes, she is beautiful. We should have this record."
Hold on,
So,
I have a related story about Tom and his vinyl addiction.
there's a
So I was really, really young, but Tom, good old Tom, stole records from the record store, and he got caught.
Well, hold on.
Oh,
It
no.
wasn't a record store. I was with him. It was a department store that had a record section,
Yeah,
and it was called Goldblatt's.
yeah. So
I never wanted this to be told.
Yeah.
Well, it's out there,
we're
buddy.
telling it, buddy.
It's out there.
Because it set me
If it's
straight
going to
for
be a
life.
confession,
Yeah.
it's going to be a
So-
confession video.
so
Oh
tell the
no,
story.
this was
So-
not. I did not plan this.
So, the store called our parents, and our dad went to the store. And the story goes, our dad went there and he paid for the records. And then, while they're inside the store, my dad took those records and he smashed them over his leg in half. And then he handed
I
them
mean, that
to
was
you.
a perfectly
And
good
he
waste
said,
of a
"Dude,
good record. I
you
mean,
will never do that again."
I was addicted. You know, it was like my heroin.
You still
I was
are
addicted to
It's
records.
Not, I was addicted.
I
It's
was
that you
addicted
still
to
are-
records.
No, you are still addicted to records. I'm pretty
Don't
sure,
steal.
I'm pretty sure.
Don't steal.
When you come to my house, I hide my valuable vinyl. So, I know.
I'm sure some of my valuable vinyl is at his house
Matter of fact,
today.
when we're done, we should go
Live
to your
like a
house.
suicide.
We should
Yeah,
go to your house.
exactly.
Didn't you just go through all the stuff you recovered? I'll bet some of my vinyl was in those boxes, and you didn't show them on air. I mean,
There's
it's the
so
truth.
much loot. I mean, you know, I've got a mega piece of Guns N' Roses loot, but it's going to
How
have
much
to
of it's
wait.
mine?
How much of it's mine?
Well, you're welcome to go through it and see if you recognize
Yeah,
anything.
like, you know, it was a
He
cute
said
story.
that
Hold
Carly
on.
signed
It was a
the
cute
record.
story about this is the one that they signed for my mom. I think you probably stole that from her. So, like, here's what I'll tell you, parents and young children: vinyl addiction is real. It's sitting right here. If you love music and have to
I
have
know,
it
and
above everything else, you
so
might be addicted
the
as
cat
well.
the cat is out of the bag. You know, I vowed I would not buy any vinyl
Can
on
you tell
Record
us what
Store Day.
records you
I
stole
vowed
from
I
Bill?
would not.
Yeah, hey,
I
do you
would
know
not
what the
buy any records on Black Friday Record Store Day on Dad's birthday.
And you did.
And I spent $272 on vinyl.
Not right.
And I just couldn't help myself. But man, there was some great stuff like The Doors live in Detroit, Big Brother and the Holding Company live at the Grande Ballroom, recorded by the same guys that did MC5 Kick Out the Jams. I mean, like, I just couldn't help it. And this Doors record live at Cobo Hall, same place that Kiss Alive was made when I was at that concert. But man, what can I say, folks?
So,
I love
wait,
vinyl.
Hold on a second. We have to go to the perspective of me, because I was with you at the mall. You were taking care of your younger brother, and all of a sudden you disappeared. We were with Sig and Gus Burnt.
Yeah,
Hi, Sig and Gus. Hope you're still around.
they are.
So, you and Sig and Gus and I, we were alone. No one came to help us. We didn't know what happened to you guys. And all of a sudden, our dad showed up very angry and told us to stay right there. And then we heard the rest of it. It was
I'm
pretty
going to
bad.
tell you, that was the longest bike ride home ever. Because, well, Sig knew he was going to get a whipping. And I knew there was nothing worse than my dad being that mad at me. But I'm going to make a New Year's resolution right now. I will never steal another record again,
Even if it's from family?
even if it's from family.
Okay, because, you know, I think you think that's borrowing, but if you don't tell me, it's stealing. Okay?
Well, what have you borrowed from me?
Oh, well, that's for another episode, really.
Uh-huh.
There have been a few things.
Man, well, holy smokes. I think that that's pretty good. Well, you know, it wouldn't It wouldn't be. I am still reeling from this this outing. I've been outed for being a record vinyl thief and, and an addict.
He's a thief.
Anyway, I would like to invite my two nephews to come in, and to my right is Bentley. Come on in,
Let's not
have a
tell
seat.
them about all your thievery
Yes.
And
addiction.
and
Oh, you heard?
Dawson. Now, I never stole anything. I swear, I'm a good role model.
Sure.
He didn't get away with stealing anything.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't get away with it.
First of all, I want to say how proud I am of both of my nephews, my brother Brad's two boys. I always wanted a boy, and this is as close as I'm going to get. I'm also proud that those of you that watch cartoons, you probably have heard this guy's voice, and this guy played a mouse somewhere on a cartoon. I don't know if they want me to say what it is, or if they can even say what it is, but I guarantee you, if you watch Bugs Bunny or if you watch Nickelodeon, you've heard these two. I'll leave it at that. Now,
People can figure it out. That'll be fun for them.
yeah. So, I mean, it's so exciting, you know, to see my nephews carry on the tradition of entertainment, you know. And we got to have one brother that can keep track of money. Thank goodness. He can keep track of money.
All right, the thing I'm proud of my kids is they both love music. They both
Yeah.
play instruments, which I never did. He has a pretty good vinyl collection. If you didn't hear, make sure you hide the good stuff whenever Tom comes over.
Yeah, be careful.
I might steal one of my own records that I give you back.
And there's no better pleasure than being with Bentley and his friends in the car when they take over the aux, which I have no idea what that meant, but they come in the car and they want the aux. Do you know what that means?
No, what is it? What does that mean?
Okay, so like at first your dad thinking
Yeah.
oxycodone, you're thinking all kinds of stuff. But the aux is the auxiliary port of your vehicle player.
Oh.
Yeah, so they want the aux.
They-
And
oh,
they
they-
get the aux.
and they take control of the
yeah,
sound
and
in your car?
Whichever kid has the right song at the moment, his phone now has taken over the aux of your car, and they're blasting music. And what his friends, I think, appreciate about me is that I've had good training, and I let them play it as vulgar and as loud as they want to, and they think I'm a pretty cool dad. Yeah.
All right. So, Bentley, what is your favorite music at the moment? What are you listening to? What's cool? What's good?
I like, it's like a mix between a lot of genres. Like I Queen, Guns N' Roses. I liked Guns N' Roses before I knew you did it. So I'm not a bandwagon.
Oh, cool. Well, that's
Nicely
a
done.
confession.
I'm
A
not
confession.
bandwagon. I like it. I like
You
it.
don't like them just because your uncle discovered them.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
fair
like-
enough.
Yeah, Queen, I said that. The Beach Boys, that's my favorite band of all time.
I'm going to tell you something, Bentley. I saw Chicago and the Beach Boys perform together. Now, I don't want any of my like heavy metal hair band fans to get upset, but when I was in high school, I went to see the Beach Boys in Chicago on a co-headline gig, and it was one of the best concerts I ever went to. I later bought the singer of Chicago's house in Malibu, and so I lived in Peter Cetera's house. And after it burned down in the 91 or 93 fires, I get it confused between which one was the fires and which one was the LA riots. But anyway, I lived in Peter Cetera's house, and it was really beautiful. And the 2 days after the fire, when I was walking around the Rebel and we were looking for things, Peter Cetera actually came by because he wanted to see if his house had survived or not. So that's my Chicago story, and you know, how can we forget Saturday in the Park? I think it was the 4th of July. But that's cool. I mean, for your generation, and what grade in high school are you?
Ninth, freshman. Yeah.
So you're a freshman in high school and you're digging on the Beach Boys. So you should listen to some Chicago, like 25 or 6 to 4, and imagine that you could have gone to that concert.
There's some other harder stuff that I don't appreciate as much as you do that you listen to.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, cool. Yeah, people like him. I know that. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Good music.
All right.
Not rock, but it's a different thing, but I like it.
So Bentley, what is your confession?
My confession?
Do you have a confession?
Well, I don't have an addiction, but I don't really have a confession.
Okay, all right.
His confession is.
Have
he
you
has no
stolen anything
confession.
from me?
Yeah.
I haven't stolen anything from you.
Yeah, you stole anything from me? That's a good confession. No, okay.
I think I've seen you take food from your brother.
That's probably happened before.
Yeah. Do you have a New Year's resolution?
My New Year's resolution is to explore more music.
Cool. Well, I like that. Do you collect vinyl as well?
I mean, I have some.
Okay.
I wish I played it more often.
Yeah.
That's also like Alexa, you can play it, you can just say it, but I feel like
Yeah.
I want to do vinyl more.
So what format is your freshman in high school like friends group? What do they listen to? Vinyl, cassettes, 8 tracks, reel-to-reel
Their phone.
tape, stream? Is it just streaming?
Well, it's usually just streaming, but like when I'm at my friend's house, we like to put it on the vinyl because we have it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And Dawson has the vinyl collection, so it's kind of like you and I. I didn't need vinyl because you had everything. He doesn't really
No,
need
I didn't. I
vinyl.
didn't have enough money for everything apparently. But Dawson,
A room bigger than this, and it wasn't enough. Okay.
all right, Dawson. Now it's your turn to get in the
right.
box. You're in the barrel now.
There you go, man.
Mr. Mouse.
Okay. So,
All right. So what do you have a confession?
No, not really.
Okay, so you've been a good boy, and Santa Claus took good care of you. Didn't bring you a lump of coal.
I haven't stolen any records. I haven't done anything bad, so
Okay,
yeah.
what are your favorite records?
just classic rock.
So you're into like the stuff that I grew up with and the
Yeah.
stuff that I signed and created.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So what are your faves? Pick a couple of faves. They don't have to be
Doesn't
mine.
have to be his.
Okay.
Be honest.
anything.
Yeah, you know the great thing about my brother is he appreciates all music. It wasn't just like we didn't grow up just on your music. We grew up on all music, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are sort of the same.
Yeah.
So probably Elton John, Beach Boys, Queen.
Stealing online? You do have a confession.
You're stealing your brother's music.
Or are you stealing his?
Wait.
It's his
Who-
record
Who
collection.
found the Beach Boys first?
I did.
Somebody gave him a record.
Oh, okay.
That would have been.
But
me.
I listened to it more.
Ah,
Ooh,
okay.
Maybe I do have a confession.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I would like to rat my brother out for something that he did that made me mad.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So basically, every time I would play vinyl, he would come over and he would turn it off
Oh, come on.
because he didn't want to listen to it.
That's not true.
There is some truth to that.
Sometimes
Because you were studying, and I get it. There were times where you needed it.
Then there
to
were
be quiet.
sometimes he was just sitting and it wasn't bothering him.
And he was just being mean.
Well, that's just
That's big,
that's
brother.
like when my Brad and I used to get into it, and I had a dog called Frisky, and he would do whatever I said. And when my brother was messing with me, I would tell the dog to attack him, and it would.
I hated that dog.
I know you did.
You know why? Because every photo of me at 5 years old is that dog biting my ankles.
Because I would stick this beagle on Brad, and it would bite his ankles.
Mean and a vinyl addiction, people.
And
Just think
and
about
I how about another confession? 1, 2, 3. Look at me. You jump over me and break your foot.
that.
This is all true. So, how many records do you have?
Not enough.
I
Good
think
answer.
there's the future me right there. The good news is if you ever came here like on a spring break, and you helped me alphabetize my 30,000 vinyl collection, right? There's probably duplicates that you could get your hands on. You just got to work to get them, right? Like my dad would say, and my mom, you can't just get records. We're not just going to buy them. You got to work for them. So you might have to have your mom and dad send you here and help me alphabetize this gigantic collection so you can pull the duplicates and add them to yours.
Now, would it be stealing or would it be permanently borrowing without asking?
That would be permanently borrowing with permission.
Oh, now, I have a question because you say not enough, but if you look at your friends' vinyl collections and your vinyl collections, who has more records?
Probably me, because my friends half the time don't even know what vinyl is.
Okay, there you go.
All right, now I'm going to ask you this question. And, when we did this on the radio last year here locally in Chattanooga, people really love this. So what formats, because you're a couple of years younger, and so what formats do you think people are enjoying? I mean, obviously vinyl. What else? And you made a prediction, and do you still think it's going to come true? Do you remember what it was?
I thought
About cassettes and CDs? Does that refresh your memory?
a little bit.
Yeah, you said that people were going to want CDs again, and I found that kind of shocking. And this is what was most shocking is there are now CDs that are worth $10,000, right? And I have a bunch of them. I just don't know where they are.
Are they mine?
That's a good question. They could be. No, I was stunned. Someone sent me an article that CDs are becoming as collectible, if not more collectible, than vinyl. And hey, you know, all of you people that got in and are watching, I mean, you know, send in the comments, you know, what your thoughts are about cassettes and CDs. And hey, I mean, I think it was last week or the week before, I showed some recovered Kiss 8-tracks. However, my 8-track machine was not recovered. They kept the machine or sold the machine, but didn't think the Kiss 8-tracks were worth anything. So there you go. But anyway, I got that article about the CDs, and I was really, really astonished. So there's so much more to talk about. It was so great to be with my brothers. And this is Brad, this is John, this is Dawson, this is Bentley, and we are the Zootots. We are family, like Sister Sledge said back in the, was it the 80s, I think, or late 70s. Anyway, we'll have to do more of these. There's so many more stories. I mean, I'm kind of worried about them saying too much more because who knows what else they'll come up with, you know, because they, remember, these two guys were witnesses to the early days of my career when things were like beyond crazy, like Motley Crue. No moral compass, no holds barred. We saw it all. We'll see you next week for another episode of Can You Get Me In? Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it seems like Brad has something to say.
One thing to say, if you look right here, this is an original Thomas Edison Victrola.
Victrola.
Yeah, and it, you know, I think it's fun that it's in this hotel. It was the first way people could hear recorded music. Because prior to the invention of this, the only
and I want you to see that was the
live.
first format.
Yeah.
If you can zoom in and see it, it plays a
cylinder of wax.
cylinder.
Yeah.
It's a cylinder of wax. That is pre-vinyl. That was the first way that people listened to recorded music. I like to call these the tips and tricks, and every now and then we're going to do the tips and tricks of vinyl collecting. And lastly, you know, my buddy Tracy Guns has been in the news a lot this week talking about how he got fired from Motley Crue when he replaced Vince Neil, and Tracy Guns is a good guy. I'm hoping to bring him to the Rock and Pod event in April of next year. And we are in next year. What am I saying? We're already here. Subscribe, like, follow, check out the TikTok and Facebook and Instagram Reels.
Happy
There's a
New Year.
lot
Happy
of
2025,
stuff.
everybody.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Happy 2025.